It feels like we are entering that territory where now we can start talking about other ideas, you know? If Dylan Larkin is not going to open up his trade list, then how about we take that liberty upon ourselves and open up our minds and ask which other teams Larkin could actually go to and what packages may exist. Let's start this video out with an update from the Detroit Times. Per Kevin Allen, the Red Wings are looking to land at least one proven player as part of a trade package for Dylan Larkin. This was tweeted earlier on the weekend, and obviously it goes into why Dylan Larkin has not been traded yet at the time of recording this audio. Maybe he's traded sometime in the future, who really knows? But Dylan Larkin wants to go to 4 teams that are probably not really interested in giving up in-the-now pieces. However, if you wanted to talk about some teams that might be interested in doing that whilst acquiring Dylan Larkin, let's turn our attention to Ice Metrics. They've been posting a bunch of really interesting trade ideas and proposals that have gotten a decent amount of engagement over the past few days. If you scroll their Twitter account, there's just so many cool ideas that are talked about over here. And, you know, by this point, I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with the vibe of the channel over here. I like to look at stuff online and I like to give my opinions on the stuff that I think is interesting. Ice Metrics does a lot of interesting stuff, so big shout out over to them for posting this mock trade for Dylan Larkin. Take a look at this. If you were a Red Wings fan or a Bruins fan, how do you feel about this? The Red Wings will get Casey Mittelstadt, Mason Lohrei, Cooper Simpson, the prospect, and a second-round pick for Dylan Larkin. Who says no? NHL Ice Metrics asks. And there are a number of replies, 30,000 plus views, so a lot of really interesting engagement over here. That Bruins package could not net Jake DeBrusk. Okay, now, honestly, I am going to disagree with that. I think the package is actually a lot better than people are giving it credit for. I mean, Todd Hattrick goes out there and says, I'll be the first to say I love Casey Mittelstadt. Lohrei as well would be an incredible find. No way, Hagen's and 27. First-round pick over there. Swap Mittelstadt with Zacha and a first instead of a second, and I think you got a deal. In-division trade, you think this is enough? You make the worst mock trades, yada yada yada. Well, here's the thing. Dylan Larkin, by himself, is the player that we know and love him to be. Well, okay, maybe that's a little subjective. I don't know if many Red Wings fans love Dylan Larkin anymore. 30 years old, signed to the end of 2030, making $8.7 million a year. A guy who has never been a point-per-game player. A guy who has never been a 40-goal scorer. A guy who has never even gotten to 80 points in one NHL season. It's the unfortunate way of how Dylan Larkin's career has gone up to this point, where he hasn't actually eclipsed that point production to fully put him in that bona fide number 1 center territory. Okay, I stand corrected. He had 1 point per game season, 69 points in 68 games, and he had 79 points in 80 games the year before that. But other than that, he has never gotten to the 80-point mark, something that I think a lot of Red Wings fans have held against Larkin over the past few weeks here, ever since the guy's public trade request. He's a good player, and in Boston, playing with a guy like David Pastrnak, no disrespect to Lucas Raymond and DeBrincat, but Pastrnak would be the best player that Larkin has ever skated on a line with if he were to play with him. If Larkin were to play with Pasta, he probably gets 55 assists on a season and then finally eclipses that 80-point mark and gets 82 points in a year. It's possible. I think he's good enough to do that. But Casey Mittelstadt coming back in return, I know a lot of people will harp on Casey Mittelstadt. We have seen so much thrown his way over the past few years, and it's for pretty good reason as well. Casey Mittelstadt was a former top 10 pick 9 years ago in 2017 by Buffalo, and there was a period where Mittelstadt was seen as the best prospect in hockey. In the 2017-18 year, he had 30 points in 34 games, and while that might not seem like a lot, especially compared to NCAA players at 18, 19 years old today, back in this time frame, points were harder to come by. Straight up. Like, this is in the era where Art Ross winners in the NHL were winning the trophy with 87 points on the year instead of 140 like we're used to these days. Casey Mittelstadt was genuinely seen as the top prospect outside of the NHL, with guys like Elias Pettersson and Cale Makar following shortly after. But Mittelstadt never lived up to the hype. He had that one World Junior tournament where he lit it up, and he was, part of the All-Star team. He was named the best forward. He had the most points. He was the MVP of the tournament. Like, he did all that stuff, and there was all this spotlight on Mittelstadt. And as his career has gone on, he has not lived up to it to the capacity that we thought he'd be able to do. But don't count him out just yet. He had a 59-point season back in 2022-2023 with Buffalo, 57 points the next year, split between Buffalo and Colorado, had a weird season with the Avalanche the year after that, and then put up 42 points in 71 games his most recent season on a Boston team that was able to surprise some folks with their making of the Stanley Cup playoffs and everything else. But unfortunately, Mittelstadt is still one of these guys where I feel like it's not fair to say, oh, he's still trying to find his game. He's 27 years old now, for crying out loud. But I feel like now what you get with Mittelstadt and what we've seen out of Mittelstadt is more or less what he is going to be into the long term. If he gets a 60-point season, then okay, great, celebrate him getting a career high. But if he maxes out at 40 to 50 points a year, you're probably okay with that. And if you expect anything more, you're probably going to be disappointed. But this is where the other assets come in. Mason Lohrei is a really interesting defenseman. 25 years old, 6'5", 218, a big dude and a left-handed dude. He's a guy that was able to score 26 points in 73 games this year. He had 33 points in 77 games last year. You give this guy power play time, and he produces. It's been tough in Boston because, of course, Charlie McAvoy is there. But Mason Lohrei has been one of these underrated guys that has found ways to score in waves and was a pretty underrated pickup in fantasy hockey for a number of people, including myself, throughout the course of the past 2 years. He was really streaky, and when he got that power play time, he made good use of it. It's why you were able to see stints like this. Take a look at 2 goals and 6 assists in the span of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He started out the year super hot. Lohrei is one of these guys that I do think has more to show for in the National Hockey League. Sure, maybe it's not ideal to take away some top left-handed defenseman time for Simon Edvinsson by giving it to Lohrei instead. But I'm a Lohrei believer. I think this guy's pretty good. And then you talk about the prospect as well. Cooper Simpson may not seem like much right now, but this 19-year-old third-round pick out of last year's NHL Entry Draft just had a season for the ages in the USHL. He was taken in the 3rd round because he was drafted out of the Minnesota High School League. 83 points in 31 games for Shakopee High as the captain of that team. For the Youngstown Phantoms this previous season, Cooper Simpson had 74 points in 61 games. That's amazing. Now he's heading over to the Fighting Hawks in North Dakota, and with the way a lot of these USHL prospects go, I would not be surprised if Cooper Simpson is seen as one of these top-of-the-line, potential middle to top 6 caliber forwards in the long term. Cooper Simpson, everybody, watch out. I'd love to see a name like this enter the Detroit Red Wings system. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All of these guys, plus a 2nd-round pick, is this fair value for Dylan Larkin? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Larkin would accept a trade to Boston? Do you think he could force his hand to be okay with moving to Massachusetts? Let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.